Thank you so much for joining us today for the Evolve 2021 webinar series, Hybrid Internship Fundamentals, live with students on site. So we're very excited for this session today. My name is Sabrina Stark, and I'm the University Partnership Manager for Absolute Internship here in Barcelona, Spain, and we're very excited to have you join us today for this exciting session on hybrid internships. So just to give you a quick overview of Absolute Internship, in case you're not familiar, we have been in business since 2009, working with over 5,000 interns from 53 different nationalities in 800 companies worldwide in 30 different industries. So we're very diverse, work in many locations, and we're excited to speak to you today. So here you can see a bit of where all of our programs are based. We have Barcelona, Beijing, Hong Kong, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Montreal, Paris, Shanghai, Singapore, Stockholm, and Tokyo. And today we'll be focusing specifically on our students' experiences in Barcelona and London. So to speak a little bit about our current on-site internship programs for June, we have programs going on in London and Barcelona. About 78% of our interns are doing a hybrid internship, which means 2 to 3 days per week going to the office, which was the most popular makeup, and the rest are going remotely. Okay. And then apart from that, we have about an equal amount of students who are interning 100% remotely, but from Barcelona or London, and then a small percentage that are 100% in person at the office going 5 days a week. But to break it down from the two cities, so we have London, that 30% of our interns in the program are working 100% remotely from London. And they're working with companies based in London. Okay. So because of COVID restrictions, because of company preferences, the students are doing their internship remotely from London, but they do have the student cohort there and activities and support on site. Then in Barcelona, 20% of our interns in the program are working 100% remotely, but only 8% of these are local companies. So the other 12%, they're actually working for companies based in Lisbon, Stockholm, and Madrid. So this is because that they weren't able to go to that location, or because their internship had a better opportunity in one of those cities, and they decided to join our cohort in Barcelona to have that in-person experience with other students. Okay. And then thinking about traditional work models. Okay. So thinking a little bit about work in general, kind of where we see the future of work going. According to the Microsoft's 2021 report, 73% of employees in general expressed a desire for flexible remote work post pandemic. So that's something that we're definitely seeing with our European host companies, that they have already embraced this. They don't want to go back, 5 days a week into the office. People really want that flexibility and higher life quality. And about 66% of businesses said they were considering to redesign their physical spaces to better accommodate hybrid work environments. So you want to have really intentional spaces that people are going to come to get together, to do activities, not just to sit in a chair at a desk with their computer, because that's something that you could literally do from anywhere. So redesigning office spaces, downsizing, maybe even changing the location. If many of your employees live outside of the city, like in London, doing spaces that are outside of the city that people can go to easier than commuting in. So we're seeing a lot of changes right now. And then the shift to hybrid working. So specifically looking at Europe, and that's what we're talking about today, because we've really seen this in our European host cities. Most organizations want to explore progressive policies post-pandemic. Okay, so meaning almost half are looking at working from anywhere. 39% are looking at core working hours, so really condensing when you're doing specific work. 4-day work week, which is really popular when you talk about it, 39%, and then unlimited vacation. So there's a lot of things on the table people are looking at, and employees and managers and bosses, they're looking at, okay, how can we be more progressive in the way that we approach our work? So only 11% of business leaders in Europe are expecting their employees to return to the office full time. So seeing this panorama of kind of what's happening, in businesses, we're thinking, okay, what is that going to mean for internships and for students coming to do in-person internships? So that's really one of the questions we'd like to further explore today in this session. So to get on with the session about hybrid internships and fundamentals, I'd like to just introduce to you quickly our speakers today with us. We have Jordan, who is a fashion intern at Talia Collins in London, and she's a student at Boston University. We have Almas, who is a marketing intern at City Job Offers in Barcelona, and she's from Birmingham City University. We have Thomas, who is a digital marketing intern at Barrio in Barcelona from University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And then we also have Michael with us today, who is the Assistant Director for Programs Abroad Office at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So each one will be speaking a little bit about their perspectives on the hybrid internship and really diving a bit deeper into this experience and what it's like. So without further ado, Jordan, I will let you introduce yourself and take the floor and talk a bit about your internship in London.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan. I am a rising sophomore at Boston University, and I am studying theater arts, design, and production. So I'm doing a fashion internship in London with Talia Collins, and it is a hybrid internship. I would definitely say I am on the heavier in-person side. I did work from home today, though, so that was a nice rest day. My internship is actually at my boss's house in South Kensington, so it's been a long commute. Definitely feels more in person than remote, but there's definitely hybrid aspects to it for sure. I wanted to come to London because I've never been to Europe before, and I was really looking for an international experience. I did the international baccalaureate program at my high school, and a lot of my closest friends are actually French. So I kind of just wanted to explore the world a little bit, go outside of my comfort zone. And I've always been interested in fashion. So when I saw that Absolute Internships had a fashion branch, I definitely wanted to do that. So it's been really cool because the great thing about my internship specifically is that I'm exploring a lot of different aspects of the fashion industry. I'm at a really small company. There are actually genuinely 3 of us. So I'm getting to do a lot of marketing. I'm getting to do a lot of design. I'm getting to do a lot of graphics. I'm getting to do a lot of communication. So it's pretty much just anything you might think of business-wise that I'm getting to explore. On the days that I'm home, I'm making a lot of GIFs for Instagram. I'm doing some designs for the website. I actually drew some body shape images for the website so that to help people with the size guide and try and figure out what bathing suits might fit them best, stuff like that. So I've really been seeing a difference in the company that I am making, which has been really interesting. And while I'm in the office, I'm doing a lot of organization. I'm helping send out shipments. I'm helping make sure that we are on track with everything that we're trying to do, sending emails. I helped email Vogue Paris the other day, which was super cool. And I'm checking and making sure all of our press packages are going out correctly and coming back correctly. So it's been a really interesting experience. I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think working outside of somewhere you know well is always a good experience because I'm learning not only what it's like to work in London, but how it is to communicate with people from France, what it's like to send a package to Italy or to Switzerland or to Germany, and to communicate with those people and make sure that the customers feel like even though we are in a different country, everybody is still getting what they need in a timely fashion and being valued, and we're interesting them with whatever we are putting out there through social media and the website. So it's been very cool.
And Jordan, can you talk to us a little bit about like how are your days different? I know you spoke a little bit about your tasks. Like, how do you organize yourself when you're in the office or when you're working remotely? Like, do you work from your room? Like, have you been going other places? Like, what has that been for you? And then how are you working with your supervisor that sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's remotely? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'll start with where I work and how I organize myself. I have a laptop and an iPad, and my iPad is where I do most of my drawing and everything like that. And then my laptop is because I always have two screens up at once. But I definitely will say I have a really, really long notes document, which I don't know if that's the best way to organize yourself, but that's how I've been doing it. And every single day, I write down all of my tasks in my notes document. And I say, here's task one. Any notes I have about it go like indented a little bit. And just all of the tasks are listed out there by day. And then normally, if I'm remote, I'm in my room just because it has been rainy because it's London, so I don't and I don't really have access to Wi-Fi much other places. So sometimes I'll go to a cafe, but most likely I'll be in my room if I'm working remotely. We do have a really nice study area downstairs. I just haven't thought to utilize it yet, other than for small gatherings. So, and then I'm sorry, I totally forgot your second question.
No, that's okay. Your supervisor, how do you work with your supervisor being, in this hybrid mode?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, there's three of us. So I actually, to be completely honest, I'm not sure who my supervisor is because I would consider myself to have a very good relationship with both like my boss and my coworker, who are technically both my bosses, but Talia Collins herself, and then another woman who works with us named Caroline, who I also am very fond of. And the two of them, as they need me to do things, will both give me tasks. And more often than not, because I'm working in a tiny company with an artist running her own business, we'll be told the night before what time we're coming in, and it will probably change the next morning. So I make a lot of jokes to my mom about how I feel like Carrie Bradshaw or Emily in Paris, because it's a lot of like, we take her dog to the vet and we run here, and it's been so much fun and so interesting to do it. But it's definitely a little chaotic sometimes because we're kind of just all over the place last minute. So I really just, again, my huge notes document, just so I know what I'm doing every day and if I've done all the tasks, and also just being on my toes, ready to go when they say the night before, okay, tomorrow you're coming in at 11, and then I actually am waking up at 8:30 because I might have to be there at 9:30. So yeah.
That's really great. You're learning a lot of great skills to adapt, and especially speaking about the specific industry, like fashion and working with a designer and an artist. Like it is a very creative, right? And it create like creativity comes at different times, and what you
Yeah.
need to do. And I wanted to ask, how is it with the students in London that you're with right now? Because everybody has kind of different schedules. Some are hybrid, some are remote. Like, how has that been on site?
Just to be with them. I have seen them quite frequently. It's a great group of people who's here. We go out together all the time. It's really nice to have. We have a nice open courtyard downstairs, so we're able to get all together sitting outside so that we're within the COVID guidelines, but we can still all see each other. So it's been really nice to have them there. And all of our events that we've been going to have been really fun. We were talking about, we went to Cardiff in Wales as a whole group, and it was pouring rain for the whole trip, so we couldn't really do anything. And we were talking about it, and we were saying like, oh, but it's nice that we're here together because we always make it fun as a group, even though it might not have necessarily been fun otherwise. Because we were all together, it was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. I really appreciate that. And we'll have some more questions for you, I'm sure, at the end. Thank you. Let's move on to Almas. If you can talk to us about your marketing internship in Barcelona, and kind of what your experience has been.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Almas and I'm from Birmingham in the UK. I'm currently doing a marketing internship here in Barcelona for City Job Offers. They're a recruitment company. I work in the social media marketing team, which consists of two supervisors and another intern. Um, and I have been doing social media posts, a lot of research because they're creating these new brand leaflets to be sending out to new clients. I go in the office about 2 days a week, but in the past week, it's actually been pretty heavily on the remote side. I communicate with my supervisor through WhatsApp, and usually when they're in the office, they call us into the office, but they haven't been in the office as much in the past 2 weeks. So I've actually been working from home quite a lot. I've actually really enjoyed working from home. I think it's given me a lot of time to be quite free with the work that I'm producing, and enable me to have great communication skills with my supervisor while working in a very diverse cultural setting, because I'm in a completely different country from where I live. The bigger team in the office, they're actually all from all over the world, places like Cuba, Dominican Republic, America, London. So it's been really interesting getting to work with people from all over the world, as well as working from home. I think the experience of working in a marketing sector remotely has been quite interesting, because at first, it took me a while to adjust to not having as much communication and guidance. You have to really become quite independent and work, become more self-aware, and reschedule yourself to make sure that you're doing all the tasks that you need to in a certain time. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and I've loved doing a hybrid internship. I really recommend it to anybody who wants to do it.
And how have your days been different, Almas, like the days that you work remotely? I know you were talking about having time to be more kind of creative. Maybe you work at different hours when you're working from home, and then in person, like what is it like in the office when you go?
So working from home, I've actually been trying to work earlier in the day. So waking up earlier and getting as much work as I can done, so that I can go out and explore the beautiful city that Barcelona is. And but in the office, they start at 9, so I usually leave around 8:30, get there for 9, and they keep me in until around 1 in the afternoon. So it's quite, even when I'm in the office, I still finish quite early, but I usually come back and then work until 5 on the days that I go into the office, just to get a bit of extra stuff done. And then then usually keep your evenings free. Hybrid really allows you to create a working schedule around yourself, really. So I've been trying to get all the work done in the mornings, and then having the evenings and late afternoons to explore Barcelona.
Great. And how do your coworkers do their flex working? Like, how often are they coming into the office? Like, is it up to everyone that they decide, or is there a set schedule? Like, how is your company managing this?
I think at the moment it's quite free. They usually come in together for meetings, and those meetings will usually last about an hour or two, and then they usually go home, and then they carry on working from home. Most of them go in 2 days a week, which is when I usually get a text message to say, come into the office because we're all going to be working there today. So, but usually I think it's quite free. It's very open with the movement in and out of the office.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share on why did you decide to come from the UK to do this instead of, just interning remotely from the UK? I think I know the
Mhm.
answer, but why would you come?
I think being able to integrate travel with the internship, like being able to work and travel and experience a whole new culture, and explore the beautiful city, and not even just the city, because we get to go to places like Madrid and Valencia and see quite a lot of Spain. And I think that is what really sold me on coming to Barcelona, being able to expand myself in the future job aspects that I want to do, as well as being able to basically travel the world. I mean, during COVID in London, in the UK in general, it's been really hard. We've been in and out of a lot of lockdowns, and the opportunity to come to another place and just really like recenter myself and focus and be able to do what I love is what really sold me on coming over.
Thank you. That's great. Well, let's go ahead and then speak with Thomas about his digital marketing internship in Barcelona.
Oh, yay, I'm up. Hi, I'm Thomas, and I'm a rising senior, which feels so weird and so wrong to say, at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I study a double degree in marketing and public relations with a collateral in international business. And, beyond the degree requirements, I really wanted to come do an international experience like this because it's just something different from the norm of studying abroad. Like, I don't know if any other students felt this way, but once COVID started and we had to do online classes at home, I kind of realized I could do classes from anywhere, and the idea of studying abroad just didn't excite me anymore. And I wanted something where I could really get sink my teeth into and just get a lot of experience and learn a lot of new things beyond, picking up a language and taking, intro to international business somewhere other than Knoxville, Tennessee. And I get the wonderful opportunity to work with Barrio Digital, which has kind of always been in this like hybrid mix since 2014, since it's a bunch of freelancers that came together. A lot of them do work outside of the clients with Barrio, which is really interesting, but like a digital and consulting and strategy firm. They work with clients to build their presence and an ongoing strategy for success. There's about 20 of us, 20 countries, so there are some in the US that I've got to talk to, and they like compare their experience with Barrio in the US and mine in Barcelona. I almost said Madrid for some reason. I am in Barcelona. But I get to work really closely with two project managers, who was awesome. One's from Belfast and the other is in Milan right now. So it's like she is the one from Belfast is in Barcelona, and I get to experience most of my in-person with her. She's the person, Louise, on the graphic up there. And we get to work 2-3 days a week. We go into a Soho house or we go to coffee shops around Barcelona because she wants me to really experience like the actual local, culture, which is really exciting that they've really taken that endeavor. They both sent me, my project manager and my managing director, these really long, like, you will go here, you will do these things, and you will love Barcelona. But also getting to work online with someone in Milan is really interesting because it's her schedule, how she does things differently than say Louise, who I get to meet with in person, but also it's learning how to work with different people in different cultures. And I do a lot of different things, from like posting to social media, but also I've got to contact micro influencers and set up full contracts with them that Louise like set me up with one of them, and she's like, okay, now go. You can do it, do the rest of it yourself. And it's been awesome to see that, because working with my clients and setting up these partnerships that will go on for long after the work that I have done with Barrio is over is awesome, because I get to see this company grow and I get to see these partnerships develop into something amazing. I also, I've set up discount codes with them, which I would like to use because the products are amazing. But the most amazing part is they're all open to my ideas. Barrio itself has its own digital presence with like, how to freelance, how to work from hybrid, how to set your own schedule, how to build your home office. And we wanted to keep expanding these ideas because COVID really put a stopper to those. And it was just kind of our clients. And really, I've got to help relaunch their own marketing and like, Instagram feeds. And so I've gotten to do these fun little projects that we're still editing, of like filming with them and really talking and breaking these things up and getting my creative juices flowing. And it's exciting because they look at me and they're like, what do you want to do? What do you want to learn? And how can you help us grow? And it's not just like giving me the little, the busy work that they don't want to do. It's they want to invest in me and they want me to invest in the company. And that's super amazing. And it's just 2 or 3 times a week that I go in. But working remotely is honestly my favorite part, because not only do I get to set my own hours, sleep in a little bit if I want to as well, but I get to be productive the way I want to be productive. You can't see it, but I have like a giant thing of just Post-it notes all over my wall with it's like all the days and like what I need to get done, but then also like what I want to work on and the projects I want to bring up and like all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's just a unique experience. I keep saying it's a unique experience. I have a bunch of notes and a lot of things that I want to say, but I'm really thankful for getting to work remotely just because I get to do things a little differently than in the States. I've known for a very long time I didn't want to sit in an office from 9 to 5 and just have a cubicle. I get to define myself and I get to have this unique experience to prove to myself that I can do it for like the rest of my career, which is really nice. But then also working remotely, I get to, like Almas said, just spend time with all these kids in these programs. Like we get our work done in the morning and then we'll live on the terrace in the afternoon. We'll go out to somewhere nice for dinner and then like watch the sunset on the beach. And it's amazing because it's this close-knit group. And it was something I was actually like, afraid of, like, am I going to mesh with these kids that I've never met from all across the country? And I mean, Almas is from the UK, so even across the world. And it really feels like a family. And that's just the best part of it. It's like you do your work and then you get to like just like hang out with all these amazing people. And really just a giant pro of that, but other pros are, getting to be productive in your own way. But I will say I had a fear and I feel like I've conquered this, but also with the project manager that I work with completely online, there's a fear of not really being able to get to like connect with your coworkers in the way you would being fully in person all the time. But it's all about putting the effort in on your own hand, taking the effort to I didn't have weekly meetings with my online project manager. It'd just be on Slack every day, like, hey, can you work on this? Can you do that? And I was like, no, can we talk weekly? Do a Google Meet, just kind of break down everything that's going on and like what we want to do together. And my relationship has worked better with her. Everything that I do feels better. I feel like I'm doing more because I took that extra step and I was like, I want to get to know you better than just, talking on Slack every day, which like Slack is a great program, but like getting to see someone even over a screen is so much better than just words, digital words on that. And I definitely, this has been a lot of fun.
No, that's great, Thomas. And I'm really happy that you did that. I know it can be very challenging with people being so busy to get those calls scheduled and to really have that FaceTime. But it really does improve your relationship and your ability to work together. And so, no, I'm really glad you were proactive in that. And I think it's amazing your company and your coworkers have so many places they want you to experience in Barcelona and really have like you're working throughout the entire city, right?
Yeah, it's really fun.
That's great. Well, thank you. And before we kind of move over to the second part, I wanted to ask all of our students, that are speaking today a little bit about their thoughts on an international hybrid internship program, for students that are thinking about maybe doing something like this. So I didn't know if you had any, recommendations, tips, just anything that you would share with students looking into doing a hybrid international internship in the future.
I'll start because I can think of one. It's understand your time management and what you can take on and what you can do. Just because working remotely is all about time management. Get on top of your stuff and schedule out your day, because without that, it's just not going to work and you're not going to be successful. So it's just understanding your time management and then also knowing just how much you can take on. So that's something just right off the bat.
I would say if you're someone who's really looking to become more independent and flexible, and I know coming straight out of university, like it can be quite daunting becoming independent, but I would really encourage you to do a hybrid international program because it really embeds in you that work ethic, but not losing yourself, because you still have the opportunity to go and explore, especially when it's international, and meet new people. Like the cross-cultural thing, it's just an incredible experience. So I would really recommend it to anybody, really.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's worth it. If you're in between, it's definitely worth it just to go explore and have a new experience and learn things from a culture that's different than your own. Definitely worth it.
And are there? Yeah, no, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, I feel like I sounded really daunting. I would really recommend it. I think it's so worth it. But like, I feel like I sounded a little daunting without saying that. But like, it's an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade for the world. So.
And would you say, just thinking off the top of your head, are there any type of students that you would not recommend a hybrid internship to?
No, I think that I wouldn't not recommend anyone. I think anyone could do something like this. It's just like I said, this is probably where my piece of advice fits a little more better. Is just understanding yourself and understanding your time management and like being adaptable just to begin with. Like I don't want to say like no one, that there's not a person that can't be adaptable, but it's like understanding that it's just something very different from being, and no one's going to hold your hand. So just understanding that and being open to doing things on your own and being proactive in your job. So, but those are skills that everyone need to have anyways. So I'd recommend that for them.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I was going to say, I don't think there's anybody who can't do it. While I've been in Barcelona, I've met all different types of people with different personalities and different the way they work. But I think if you're able to really center yourself and keep your motivation going while you're not in like a work environment, I think anybody can do it. I think it's you'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. And we'll have some time for questions at the end if anyone would like to ask you specific questions about your experience. We're going to go ahead and move on to working with students in hybrid internship programs, more from the university lens in thinking about these programs. So I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to Michael and we'll let him take over.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thanks for everybody attending the seminar, and thanks to the students for, showcasing their experience. I think it's really, from a university perspective, it's really nice to hear these experiences that not only TJ, who's a student here at the University of Tennessee, but also Almas and Jordan are having great experiences, and all the work that education abroad offices, in the United States and really around the world have really put into helping students continue to have these global experiences. So it's really great. So just to restate my name is Michael Sáenz, and I am the Interim Assistant Director here at the University of Tennessee. And really, like all education abroad offices in many industries throughout the world, I guess I don't have to repeat this, but our business was affected negatively by COVID-19. So we really had to find innovative ways or new ways to continue to provide our students with global experiences, while also, I think, sustaining our operations and what we do from a financial standpoint. So I guess just to give you all a little bit of background in terms of what the University of Tennessee was able to do, post-pandemic and really kind of, not post-pandemic, but really starting in spring 2021, when our university, the University of Tennessee, made the decision to allow undergraduate in-person experiences to continue on select programs. So the university took a program by program approach to review and assess each of our different programs to include our hybrid experiences, our internships. And the process itself, in terms of looking at our programs for summer, when it comes to our UTK sponsored programs, changed a little bit. It was modified, but I think it was modified, to really look at programs holistically and add an additional layer to ensure that we were, providing students really safe and secure programs. So each of our programs that we've kind of talked about that our students are participating on, including our hybrid experiences, were reviewed by our International Risk Management Committee. And I think that one thing that I've really appreciated about the University of Tennessee and really our office, our education abroad office, is we've always maintained a really open approach to different type of programming, whether that be virtual programming only, whether that be hybrid experiences. Obviously, the university did allow us to continue in-person programming, but we didn't make the decision to say in-person only, and that's the only option that our students had. We really thought that it would be very fruitful for the students to have experiences in hybrid, since we thought that a lot of our working environments would change post-pandemic in different industries, and really as illustrated by Sabrina earlier in the presentation. So we've always had a really, really open approach to providing students very different types of experiences here at UT. So really we actually have 12 UTK students in the United Kingdom. And as TJ presented in his experience in Barcelona, we have one student in Spain. And I think really working with students on this process was quite iterative, and TJ might be able to speak to this later on when we have time for Q&A. It was a lot of back and forth. I think we really wanted students to have an experience, and conditions were changing rather quickly as it related to the pandemic. And because we wanted students to have as much opportunity to have an experience, we had to pivot from location to location, or offer students the opportunity to go from one location to the other, depending on what COVID-19 conditions were. And that was a lot of emails, that was a lot of communication. But I think that in each instance that we provided students, we were very open and transparent with the information, and we tried to always be very proactive. So I think just to walk you through on some of the communication that we did with students, is, we remained very proactive, but I think that we provided students with a lot of virtual informational sessions, so that when there was a change in location, for example, or there was a change in some aspect of the experience, the students knew automatically what that change was. So we really wanted to set up the expectations for the students. So we did a lot of virtual informational sessions. This took up a lot of time in a time where we don't have time, but personal phone calls to the students, I think that was really helpful in just walking them through on changes or what the expectation meant. Emails, and then obviously one thing that we really did, I think, was beef up our acceptance letters. And I think that our acceptance letters have always been really good, but we really outlined the acceptance process and all the expectations that they needed to know, not only from a university perspective as it related to COVID-19, but also, the financial ramifications of them making a decision to move forward. And then really the expectations that they needed to know when it came to participating in a hybrid experience. So one thing that we outlined in these informational sessions, on these phone calls, in these emails, and again on these acceptance letters, was the fact that the experience was going to be different, and that they could arrive and that the experience could then change again. So, 2 days in the office could be possible, 3 days remotely, maybe 5 days, in person, or 5 days remotely. So we just wanted to make sure that, we provided that necessary information to the students so that they could go into this experience not only when they were committing to the program, but as they prepared to the program, knowing what their experience was going to look like. And then after they committed to the program here and knew what those expectations were, then that's when we handed them over to Absolute. And then that's when Absolute would start communicating that information to students. So there were a lot of questions, at least from the, I don't know if I could say this, but from the American perspective, sometimes I think American students don't do well with uncertainty, and there's been a lot of uncertainty around COVID-19. So there were a lot of questions related to the experience, and I think that it was not questions that were different than any other year, but I think that the questions that I think were different this year were, what's my experience going to look like? So I think that they were okay with the accommodation. They wanted to know more about the travel, but they also wanted to know more about what the internships should look like, or what it could look like, whether that was going to be in person or hybrid. And I think that, that proactive communication, I think, really alleviated some of the questions that they had, or follow-up questions that they had. So I think that really proactive communication, I think, to any university is something that I would certainly recommend. And then I think that one of the things, or a shout out to Sabrina and her team, is it was also a lot of communication with Absolute. I would go back to Absolute and Sabrina with a lot of questions, and and sometimes Sabrina would say, this is, she might not know the answer, or so there was a lot of constant communication between our office and Absolute, as well as the communication to the students. So I think moving forward, I think here at the University of Tennessee in our Programs Abroad office, we're really excited for some of the virtual programming that we've been able to create, not only our virtual internships that are virtual only, but our hybrid internships, and really the opportunity that our students are going to have that we feel are really going to benefit them academically and professionally, but some other programming that we've been able to do here at UT that are really focusing on some of those technical skills that we think would really help students moving forward professionally. So we do think that working with students and providing them with a hybrid experience is very imperative to their overall success. So with that, I think I'll give it back to Sabrina, and then I think we can have some time for some questions.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I was reminiscing about our planning stages and really how things just kept changing, weekly on what our summer programs would look like. And, you and many other universities too will ask, well, what sort of things can you guarantee? Now, like, can you guarantee once a week? Can you guarantee twice a week? Can you guarantee 3 times a week in the office? And I mean, we were very honest and like transparent and said it's going to depend on the company, because every single company that we're working with is doing their own thing. If they're going in certain days, or they're working remotely, or they've changed their office, or they've downsized, or I mean, there's just been so much change. And so I think that was really great, the communication there, and your all's ability to really explain that to students so that they had a clear picture of what they're coming into. And that we're able to guarantee an international internship, we're able to guarantee work experience, we're able to guarantee that student cohort experience, but the actual details of your internship is going to become clearer once you're speaking with your company, also depending on COVID restrictions and everything. So I really applaud, all the work that you guys did, and also just the students and how, brave they are to take on this experience. And I always tell them that, like, you are signing up for an adventure. And I think that's great to really embark on this new work experience, which people around the world are experiencing, right, in their companies and their industries, and how do we move forward in what way. So I think students having the opportunity to live that and internationally is just phenomenal. So thank you so much. We wanted to leave some time for questions and answers. So for our audience members here today, if you would like to put any in the chat, or if you wanted to unmute yourself and ask a question to any of our students or to Michael, we'd like to give that space here for anything that you would like to ask about. And we did have one question, sorry, in the chat from Ernst. You said that a hybrid model is more expensive than one which is completely physical. So I can speak from absolute internship, and I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but it's not more expensive than the completely physical one, because we have all the same inclusions in terms of housing, on-site support activities that students are doing, professional development. So that's all the same. And it's just the working environment would depend on their company. They have their transportation covered for them during the program. So whether they're going to the office every day or they're going around the city every day, it's the same in terms of their pass. So we could ask the students if they spend, that's a good question maybe for them, if you're spending more money when you're working remotely or when you're working in the office. What would you guys say?
I find myself spending less money when I'm working, because I'm not out as much, and we get meals included here in Barcelona in our residency. So when we're working from home, you don't really have to spend that much. But obviously when we're going out and exploring the city, that's a different question. That's how most of the money gets spent, but that's out of my will, not because of the work that I'm doing.
We don't have meals included here at all, but I don't think that there's much of a difference for me on the days that I'm working remotely versus working in the office, because I feel like when I do work at the office, I mean, my boss has paid for my lunch like 2 times, and I'm there a lot. Usually I have to go out and get lunch. So it's just the difference of like, if I make myself a sandwich here or get like a 4-pound sandwich at Pret, it's kind of like the same spending, I guess. And as Sabrina said, our transportation is covered. So, and when I'm working remotely, I don't really have time to go out anywhere. I'm pretty much working the whole day. So I think it's really the same amount.
What about you, Thomas? You're hitting up all those cafes. Maybe you, you have a
Well,
bigger budget.
I was gonna say that almost covered a lot of what we were gonna say, so I wasn't gonna say anything. Sometimes you have to stop ourselves and be like, we went out to dinner a lot. Let's eat at the residence tonight. But I mean, like coffee and like a little baguette or a little sandwich are quite cheap, which is really nice. Sometimes they're a little pricier because it's local, but really it's just like having a budget. I try to like balance how much I eat at the residence versus like how much I eat out. But I will admit I have a little personal issue of like walking back from the office and be like, oh, that place looks nice, and then sitting down and dropping like $45 because it's some weird local place that like the food is super expensive. But it's just all about like being smart with how you spend your money. I know some people here that are shopaholics, and I just have to like stop myself with that because then I know it's all gonna be gone. But it's just controlling yourself. But I don't know. When I'm home, I don't spend as much money as I have here, but I'm also like, I'm abroad. So yeah.
Great. No, and someone asked a question, how much time should a student plan to put into applying for an internship? So we always recommend a minimum of 3 months if you're going to travel somewhere, but if it can be earlier than that, it's better. So I would say, 4 or 5 months before. Maybe you guys can speak a little bit about when you started planning to do an international internship to give him an idea of your timelines?
I think that my answer is going to be highly unconventional, but I actually was home for winter break from school, and my family friend said, oh, I'm doing this internship program. And I was like, that sounds super cool. And then applied that night. So I think it kind of depends on, I guess, I mean, that was enough time because we didn't come until June. So it was 6 months, but like in my mind, I was kind of just like, I'm just going to go for it. So it really depends on if you're the kind of person that is okay just deciding to do it and what your plans for the summer are and how late you're willing to make those plans. But I would say it's always worth it to go for an experience you think is going to be a cool and interesting one.
Yeah, I have a similar timeline to Jordan, only I was like what Michael was saying, like I was hopping around, like it was Shanghai and then it was Tokyo and it was Stockholm and it was Barcelona. It was like back and forth and back and forth. And I believe Barcelona was like finally decided in about March. So between March and I left at the beginning of June. And so just that, 2-3 month, depending on like how, I can't remember how late in the March it was, but like that period. And I really didn't feel any stress, but I just like kind of knew every day I had to just like make sure I had everything done, check my emails, or like kind of other stuff. So not that long. And it's all about like how on top of things you are to begin with. Like I probably could have done everything I needed to in a month or a few weeks, but it's just been on top of the stuff. So
I was kind of the same as Thomas. I was actually meant to originally have my internship in summer of 2019 in Singapore, but then COVID hit and plans changed. But I was finalized for Barcelona at the beginning of this year, and ever since that was finalized, things are just fast tracked, and Absolute were great with everything, like organizing all of us, like my internship and like all of the problems I had. But yeah, it was just full steam ahead once I decided on Barcelona at the beginning of the year.
And one question I wanted to ask you guys, how do you think COVID and remote learning from your universities, and like you mentioned before, Almas, the lockdowns in London, and these experiences that you've gone through this past year, how do you think they've shaped your perception of the experience that you're having now, and kind of your expectations? And I don't know if you can like go back to pre-COVID and think, if you were to do a program like this, maybe how you would think and feel, the typical like in-person internship, but now it's hybrid. So I was wondering if you guys have thought much about that and kind of how COVID and all the remote learning you've done has really impacted how you view this experience and maybe what you value in your internships in this summer?
Um, for me, it's just I feel like I'm a lot more grateful to be able to be out here in Barcelona doing a hybrid internship than I probably would have been pre-COVID, because um, it was really hard just completing a master's degree and during lockdown and not being able to have any contact with any of my lecturers, like in person, writing a dissertation. There was a lot of stress during 2020. So finally being able to come out here, I just feel really grateful for the whole experience. And now that Spain is kind of opening up more and more, like we don't have to wear face masks outside in the streets anymore. And I feel like every little bit that we're given, I feel like we're just feeling a lot more grateful for that.
I was going to say very much the same. I feel like my answers are going to be a little bit copy of almost when it comes to like how we're experiencing it. But I just know that like I really disliked being, alone in my room, just doing these classes. Michael's here, so I have to be like, yes, I enjoyed everything about, the online programs Tennessee's offered. But it was just like, it was really draining to me. So I was kind of like, the first thing I said to Michael was like, I don't care. I have to be on my computer somewhere as long as I am like out of the country and doing something unique. I'm okay with it. So, but like everything opening up and everything is making it a little more special. But just being here, even if I do, have to be fully online some weeks, which hasn't happened yet, just getting to be here and experience the city is making it all worth it. So,
Well, I have to say I don't really know. I've had this question asked of me so many times about so many different things, and I genuinely don't have an answer because I just started college this past year. So I have no idea what college or an internship or anything is supposed to be like. So I'm kind of just experiencing it as I go. And I am hoping that I'll get a much more normal experience this upcoming year and see what normal life is supposed to be like. But this is really all I've known. I mean, high school was high school, that's not really a reflection of real life at all. So I don't really know.
No, that's a good answer. I mean, your experience is very different, Jordan, than students who were already in, university. So I like to hear these new perspectives as well. We had a question in the chat. Would you say that the hybrid model is the only alternative to the purely physical internship, and would you have done it completely remotely? So would you have done your internships completely remotely, or if it wasn't hybrid, you weren't going to do it?
I would say yes, just because it wasn't really, I am excited about my internship and I love my internship and I'm learning so much and I would not trade the experience that I have, but it was more about traveling for me and coming to a new place for the first time and doing something I'd never done before and meeting new people. So as long as the remote internship was still on location, then I would say absolutely.
I'm sure pun intended, but I completely agree with what Jordan said. It's just all about like being, there just to begin with. This is, kind of like my first internship. I've done like work with nonprofits on my own outside of it, but I feel like if COVID was like still more serious, I would have probably done something remotely. But hybrid is mostly like what I want to do with the rest of my life and my career, and so it was an experience that I wanted to like really, sink my teeth into before getting out into the real world and having some experience with it then, so I know how I work with it, and so I can, change it up and get the skills and start the habits that I need to have it as the rest of my career.
I'm the same as Jordan. I think I would have done it as long as I could have come onto the location. Obviously doing part of my degree like completely remotely, I knew that was something I didn't really want to ever experience again. It is really difficult not having at least some form of contact. Being positioned somewhere where you're enjoying working, like being stuck in your room completely remotely wasn't fun. But I think I would have done it as long as it was on location and on site.
Thank you. And I think you guys already answered the last question. Maybe just for you, Almas, was this your first internship?
Yeah, this was my first internship. Yeah.
Well, I think we're about out of time, guys. So thank you so much for being here today. It was truly a pleasure hearing from all of your experiences and your hybrid working and how you're adapting and how you're learning about your industries and your companies. And I really think you're on the cutting edge of, the future of work, and you're going to be able to adapt very well to the professional setting when you're ready to do so. So thank you guys so much. And Michael, again, thank you for taking the time to just share a bit more of your university's perspective and how you were approaching this and how you were working with students and really helping prepare them for this brand new experience that no one's done before. So thank you guys so much for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, Sabrina, I could also drop my email. So if any representatives from different universities have questions in terms of our review process or questions related to our relationship with Absolute and as it related to the hybrid internships, you could always reach out to me at any point in time.
Thank you. That would be great. And again, we'll be sending this recording out to anyone who wasn't able to come, or if you missed part of it. So no worries, we'll make sure you get the full version. So thank you so much, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.